Folks, welcome back to the Bobby Bo Show. Here's the moves it starts with. It's a Caro-Kann, but this time they play f3, and this is called the fantasy variation, and I'm already a bit uncomfortable because I'm not used to playing it, but I do know that it's a little bit aggressive and tricky for white, and I can take the pawn here, but e6 is also just a solid defense, so my plan for this game is just to play a solid defense. And after knight to c3, I play bishop to c4 to pin the knight to the king, working towards castling here, and now bishop to d3, pinning the pawn here, and I'm just going to continue developing. But I could actually just take this pawn, because this pawn is not defended by the queen right now. And if they take with the bishop, then I can play f5, the bishop has to go back, and then I just take the pawn. So I can win a pawn, but they're going to develop a little bit faster, and my queen will be a little bit unsafe on d4. So just a slight advantage if I take the pawn here. But I play knight to e7, and I just want to castle, and so do they, so they play knight to e2, and after castles, my best move is just to play c5, but I figure I'll just play queen to b6 first, and we'll build up the attack on the middle. And if they defend it with bishop to e3, I'll just play bishop captures c3, trade knight for bishop, and now if they take back with the knight, I take the pawn. So b captures c3, and now they have doubled pawns. There's an open file here. I'm expecting the rook to come over here, but my bishop is defending the pawn here. My queen's also defending it. I'm just going to move my queen back, and my plan here is just to push like b6, c5, but I should have done c5 first, because if they play right, they're going to have a very strong kingside attack here. So I need to finish development. I play knight to d7. They play rook to b1, of course, taking the open file here, developing their rook. I have to move my queen, so queen to c7. And now I'm not blocking my pawns, so I can push them. But they are fully developed, castled, they have pawns in the center, all their pieces are in the center. And now they can just start pushing c4, and 3 pawns in the center. I'm definitely on the defense here, but I want to develop this bishop. And my plan is to hold off the attack, and then launch a queenside attack by pushing these pawns. So b6 right now, and that frees up my bishop. And after c captures d5, I have to decide which pawn to take back with, and I choose wrong. I play e captures d5, and now they can just play bishop to f4, hitting my queen here. And after I move my queen to d8, they're just going to play bishop to d6, and this bishop is perfectly safe on d6. They can support it with the pawn, and it's going to be about +2 on the engine evaluation because they're about to attack my kingside, and I'm not going to be able to defend properly. But instead of bishop to f4, they play e5. Not the best move, but it's still winning, because now the bishops are lined up on the kingside here. They took full control of the center, blocking off my pieces. My knight can't come up here, and I'm very cramped right now. I have to play very carefully, and my best move is just to start pushing these queenside pawns, any of these pawns. But I want to connect my rooks with bishop to b7, developing my last piece, right? And okay, it's blocked off on this diagonal right now, but I'm planning on pushing these pawns up. Maybe this is going to open up later, and this bishop will be lined up with the king. But now all they have to do is play something like knight to g3, or queen to e1, and the queen comes over to the king side, and they just have to attack the king side. What they don't have to do is move these bishops, because they're already in the perfect spot. But they play bishop to f4 now. One move too late. They should have played it before they moved the pawn forward, but you have to see what they're going for now. And they are still winning, but not as winning. But the obvious threat here is they're going to push the pawn forward, and the bishop will be attacking your queen, and the pawn will be attacking your knight. So you should probably just move the knight to b8. But instead of knight to b8, I decide just to move my queen here. And I think about their next few moves. If I play queen to d8, and queen to c8 is probably better here, but I figure they're just going to play bishop to g5 now, pinning the knight to my queen. But now I can play h6, and I'm not going to get back rank checkmated later. So I figure free move here, and after the bishop goes back, I'm just going to play rook to e8, and now my rook defends the knight that's pinned to my queen. So after I move my queen over to c8, where it should have been in the first place, the rook defends the knight, and now this knight can come over to f8, and then it's defending the king better. So I figure I'm setting up a solid defense here, but I'm not. And after f4, I put the queen on c8, back to where it should have been in the first place, on the c-file, getting ready to push up, breaking the pin, access to the diagonal here. And because they played this f-pawn forward on move 3, that makes this diagonal weaker. So I'm trying to just use this weak diagonal with my queen to maybe do something. But the f-pawn is too strong here, just f5, and they're about to break my king open. But knight to f8, just trying to defend here. And now f6, attacking my knight and the g7 pawn. So I play knight to g6, and I figure the knights are defending each other. The knight's blocking the king here, also attacking this undefended bishop. I feel like I'm doing okay, but the engine evaluation says +9 now, and the clock, look at the clock. I'm down 4.5 minutes, so it's looking very bad for me. So even though they haven't won any pieces yet, they should be completely winning this game. And after thinking for a bit, they play bishop to g3, when they should just be taking this pawn here, because that breaks open my king here, and then they can just attack. But instead they go back, and now they're still completely winning, but really they should already have this knight and this queen over here. They wasted too much time moving their bishops, and I'm not really sure how I can defend any better at this point. I just kind of have to wait and see what happens. So I decide just to go for it on the queen side here, c5, and I'm going to try to make something happen. But now f captures g7, I take back with the king, and I figure how bad can it be? These knights blocking my king, defending each other. I feel like I'm pretty safe here, but I'm not. Not at all. And after bishop to f5, attacking my queen, I have to decide what to do now. And the best move is probably queen to d8, because this diagonal is more useful for the defense here. But I chose queen to c6, because I figure it's also defending the knight here. And I'm still in the c file, which I want to open up here. And I'm also lined up bishop and queen on their king here. If this d pawn was gone, I could just checkmate right now. So I'm trying to make something happen later. And once again, they make another bishop move when they should bring their knight into the game, and they go bishop to d3. And now they're down to 3.5 minutes, and they're making very obvious threats, like bishop to b5, hitting my queen and my rook here. And I see that, but I'm thinking about if I should worry about that. I could just play c4 here, and then they just go back, and that's the best move. But I think for a little bit, and I decide c captures d4, and I figure I'll just let them do it. And this is what I calculated, bishop to b5, and then I play queen to c5, letting them take my rook. But I'm about to check the king here, right? So they take the rook, I push the pawn forward, they block with the bishop, right? Attacking my queen, but now I take the knight, and after they take my queen, oh no, blunder, they could have just taken the pawn here, and that's the right move. So this is where I miscalculated, because I'd be losing if they just take this pawn. This is what I calculated, and after I take their queen, to promote, they take back with the rook, I take this bishop, and I'm winning, right? But I'm not, because I did not calculate the right moves here. But instead of bishop to b5 here, they played the best move, knight captures d4, attacking my queen, and now after I go queen to c5, the knight is pinned to the king, undefended. But if they just play bishop to f2, breaking the pin and threatening my queen, then they're plus 10 again. And now they need to make another bishop move, but when they need to make a bishop move, they don't. And what would you do if you were white? Well, you have so many winning moves. You could play c3 to defend the knight here, and you could even play king to h1. And look, if I take the knight here, they play rook captures f7. Oh no, my rook! And after I take the rook, they play bishop captures my knight. I take back, and now they take my queen, and I'm losing. And I was never thinking about rook captures f7 here, but they were apparently, because after I played queen to c5, they played rook captures f7. Blunder. And I took this immediately, and I said, there's no way, dude. And once again, all they have to do is play bishop to f2, and they could even play king to h1 here still, because I still can't take this knight. It's just going to be a draw, but instead they play queen to f3 check. And now there's no tactic here, and I have to decide where to move my king. But there's only one winning move here. And what would you do? Well, I'm trying to play a little bit quickly here, because I'm a little bit low on time. But even though I was down 4.5 minutes earlier, I am up on the clock about a minute now. But I was not thinking very clearly here. And I thought king to g7, and I'm defending the pawn, all the knights. This is just a great place for my king, right? But now just the obvious queen to f6 check. There's nothing defending this square here. And the only thing you can do is move the king. And once again, you have two options, and one of them loses. And I quickly thought about it here. 3 minutes on the clock. I don't play a lot of blitz. So first I looked at king to h7, but then just queen to f7 check. And I have to go king to h8, and then queen to f6 check. And it's just a forced draw, forced repeat. And we draw. So I saw the draw here, and I thought, wait, I'm winning. They just sacrificed a rook, and they don't have a good attack. So I can't go king to h7. I have to win this, right? So the only other option is king to g8. But it's losing now. But they only have one move. And what's the right move here? What's the only move? Is it bishop to f2? No, it's too late for bishop to f2. It's too late for c3. You have to take the knight here. And I thought that they could just take the knight here. I thought no problem, right? Because I can just take this knight with check, and then I can defend somehow. But I can't. Because after bishop to f2 now, attacking my queen, and I'm close to getting checkmated, but they can't quite checkmate me. But after queen captures e5, thinking I'm okay, they can play queen to f7 check, forcing my king to h8, and now the crushing rook to e1, attacking my queen, defended by the bishop here, and I'm going to lose material. My best move, queen to b2, and then they take my rook, and I'm just going to lose. If they play bishop captures g6 here, but it's too late for c3. And now black only has two moves. Very tricky game here. This knight is attacked twice, so you want to defend it. So rook to e6, and you could play queen to e7 too, but rook to e6, just logical here. Attacking the queen, so the queen has to move now, and they play queen to f3, when they should have just probably gone queen to f5 here. But now I'm going to play knight captures e5, hitting the queen and the bishop. So they trade bishop for knight here. And after I take back with my rook, they play queen to g4 check. And I can just block with rook to g5. Now the rook's lined up with the king here. Bishop lined up with the king here too. It's all starting to come together for me. They had a winning attack, but I did play a good defense. And after queen to h4, now I have a few winning moves. And the best is queen captures c3 here, hitting the bishop and the knight. Not worried about queen captures h6 here, because after queen captures c3, because after knight to f5, I have the brilliant rook captures h5, because you're up material, and after they take your rook, queen to e3 check, and you're defending the h6 pawn, and all you did was simplify, up +4 now. But instead of taking the pawn here, I figured I'm up +5 right now, but I haven't moved this rook at all, so maybe I should bring the rook into the game and play rook to e8. Rook on the open file here. Maybe you can now defend the king if I need to. But they play queen captures h6 now, attacking my rook. And I honestly didn't really see this, but I did play the best move anyway. And I should just be sliding the rook back to g7 to defend the king, block the queen from any checks, and make sure the rook is defended. But instead I go for queen to e7, and this works too, defending the rook, blocking anything going on over here. And we're lined up now, so it seems okay. And after rook to f1, I have to decide how to end it here. And that's either bishop to c8, because the bishop's not doing anything here, and it would be doing more on this diagonal, or just queen to g7, forcing a queen trade. But instead I play rook to e5. I have 13 seconds on the clock, and there's too many pieces on the board, and I just want to get rid of them. I just want to force a rook trade, but it's a mistake. And I'm still winning though, but I could have been more winning queen to g7. That would have been the easier way to simplify. But now they can just play rook to f3, and then they're bringing the rook over. But instead of rook to f3, they play rook to f6. And I'm crushing once again with rook to e1 check, because after king to f2, now queen to e3, and that forces the queen trade. So they trade queens. Now I'm attacking the bishop. So bishop to b5 attacking my rook, and I have 26 seconds left on the clock, and they have a knight, and I have 2 rooks. So you know I'm going to get forked. Let's get it over with. Rook to e7, and they forked me. Knight to f5, hitting both my rooks. And I have 30 seconds to figure out what to do here. Did I lose? No. I'm up +4. They're going to get some material back. But after rook to e6, attacking their rook here, and if their knight takes my rook, I take their rook with check, and if they take my rook, then I just take with my rook, and we traded rooks. But really I should have brought this rook back, but I'm still winning. But now they have rook captures f8, taking my knight, I take the rook, and now they play knight captures e3, and we traded rooks, and they won a knight. But what are we left with? A rook and a bishop versus a bishop and a knight. So I have the better pieces, but they have the slightly better pawns here. 4 pawns versus 3 pawns, but my pieces are better. This is a winning endgame for me, and even though it looks like they're making a comeback, it's not enough, because after a6, they have to move their bishop, and they go bishop to d7, attacking my rook. But now I can just put the rook behind the pawn, and generally a good idea to put your rooks behind pawns when you want to promote them. And this also attacks the bishop, so the bishop has to move, and I think the bishop probably should have just blocked the pawn here. But now they have to go bishop to g4, and I can just push d4 now, attacking the knight and the pawn. And if they trade pawns here, then I can just go after the a pawn here, and we're going to promote. They can't stop this. So they don't want to trade, they want to move this knight instead, and they figure after knight to f5, attacking my rook, they think they're just going to take this pawn next, but I can pin the knight to the king with knight to f6, with rook to f6, and we both have 30 seconds, we're both low on time. They think they can just take this pawn for free, and even though it says it's their best move, they cannot stop bishop to d4. Attacking the pinned knight twice, they cannot add another defender. Doesn't matter what they do next. King to e3, bishop captures knight, bishop captures bishop, rook captures bishop, and now it's just a rook versus some pawns and a king. Impossible to lose this. King to e4, move the rook over. We're going to take the pawns here just really quick, take all the pawns. They're going to push the pawn down, and we're just going to sacrifice the rook when they promote here, but we don't even need to sacrifice it. And now just push for a queen and checkmate. Good game. And that's how you beat 1500 rated players. Smash like if you learned something. Thanks for watching today's episode of The Bobby Bo Show. Make sure you're subscribed. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Goodbye.